Hi, my name is Tobi, and also I currently live in Manchester in the UK. I came to the UK when I was 17 in 2012. Biggest thing that helped me feel like I settled down was making friends, which wasn't too difficult to do because like I said, I came for uni, and you live in halls with people and you're going to lectures with people. So and University of Manchester is quite international as well. So it wasn't too difficult that in those terms. And yeah, once I was able to make friends, I felt like I'd settled in. The weather in Manchester is pretty bad. It basically rains more or less non-stop. Case in point, yeah, it rained all day yesterday, and summers are very short-lived here, unfortunately. So Manchester's, in my opinion, Manchester's really good for food. You get loads of different varieties of cuisines from all around the world, and in most cases, you have at least I would say two to three options for most things anyway, and uh, all of it is all reasonably priced as well, which is really good. In the UK in general, people up north tend to be nicer than people down south. So in Manchester, the more often than not, you're going to meet people who were nice and friendly. Yeah, I mean, people in the UK in general are kind of tend to be very polite, but it can in some places it can feel forced or like definitely fake. But in Manchester, it tends to feel like it comes from a genuine place, which is nice. Interesting things about Manchester would be the it's big enough and diverse enough for you to have like little cultural hubs for different cultures, which is really good. Obviously, it helps if you're someone from those cultures to assimilate, and even if you're not, it's still nice that people can have such a big community, and they can hold and they can hold a certain amount of space. In terms of embracing change, in my new in here, well, I'll say it's I think it's a mindset. And what I mean by that is you I think you make it much more difficult for yourself if you don't make the effort and if you don't try. And obviously, I think there is a thing where you have to sort of balance assimilating into the culture without losing too much of yourself and like your heritage and your cultural identity, which is a balance that every individual has to strike for themselves, because you you end up in a weird space where you're neither you feel so like for me, for instance, you're neither Nigerian completely, if that makes sense, and you're neither British, and so you're somewhere in between, and there's like a spectrum. And yeah, which I can understand people not wanting to feel like you're kind of in limbo. So that can be a difficult thing of moving to a new place because you feel like you're neither here nor there. But I don't think of it as I never thought of it as a bad thing. I just think it's natural, it's you move somewhere else and it would be I think it'd be weirder if you were kind of like a rock, not a sponge of, where you are living in. Like it should rub off on you in in some way. In terms of comparison between here and Lagos, uh, people, I would say, care about you more back home on like a individual, like personal level. There's a stronger sense of community, I would say, which can have its negatives and positives. Um, I mean, there's not as many people, obviously, so it's just far less hectic, and far less stressful, I would say. In the UK, I think in general, it's harder to know when people have an issue with you or when people don't like you. People, like I said, people are very polite and nice to your face, and um, so at least in much in my experience, you're never really gonna um, things are more subtle. You're never really gonna encounter people saying really outlandish things to your face on a regular basis. It's more subtle, and yeah, microaggressions. It's way more subtle, and obviously that can pile up, and that's not good. But I would say I would say that's another major difference. People are a lot more in your face about stuff back home, which I'm more used to, and makes it better. I think in a way you kind of know where you stand, and you know where you sit with people more, I would say. I would like to I would like to settle in Manchester. I was here, I moved to London for a bit, and then I came back to Manchester, and I much prefer it here than in London. So I would I would like to I would like to be here. I like to settle down here and spend most of my time here, long term moving forward. Mm, um, oh, another thing I'll actually, in terms of um, comparisons, I would say um, in terms of my friends and people that I've met and people that I tend to come across within sort of my age group, I would say at our core, the majority of them are quite similar, especially if they're other international people don't who didn't grow up here, and especially if they're people who grew up here but who um, went to uni and are more open-minded about things and embrace the embrace the fact that there are loads of different people around them, if that makes sense. I feel like at our core we tend to I feel like it's a similar sort of mentality at the core. So in those terms, and yeah, so in those terms, you're not very different. Similar interests in terms of music we listen to, and the kind of films you like, and also in terms of politics and religion. And I think that also makes it easier to to assimilate into a new culture.